everyone, welcome to episode 49 of the arieknits podcast. My name is Ariel and this is a video podcast where I talk about all the things that I have been knitting on for the past week and also spinning things. And I have got, I think, kind of a lot of things to share this week. I have a lot of finished objects this week and some new cast-ons and also just a small little bit of acquisitions. So yeah, today it is Saturday, November 11th, and daylight savings ended. I think it was this past Sunday, I think. So it is now getting darker sooner in the day, and I usually film in the afternoon on Saturdays, and so I do feel like I need to try to film a little earlier in the afternoon just to make sure that we still have some daylight. So I think it should be okay for, well, I'll try and figure it out. I think last year I did notice my videos started getting just really dark, and I had to turn on the lamp and the lighting started to look yellow. It's really hard to show colors of things, but we are going to try. Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. So today I am wearing the Tessellated Pullover by Andrea Mowry. This was a finished object in last week's video and I'm just trying to catch up. I usually try to wear any finished objects that I have for the week, but when I have multiple in the week, I can't wear 2 sweaters for a video, so I've been trying to see, I was like, how do I push it back? Do I just kind of queue them up and then I'll just keep wearing them throughout? I think at one point I was like, no, maybe I'll just wear what is new for the week and then I'll just wait until I have no finished objects for the week to wear the ones I didn't wear, but then I start losing track if it takes a while. Anyway, I am wearing the Tessellated Pullover. I love this sweater so much. It came out so much better than I was expecting. I think when I was making it, I was a little nervous about sizing. I knew I loved the colors and the color combinations with the yarn because I did buy a kit for the yarn, and so it is the exact colorways that Andrea Mowry used in her sample, and that was I loved it so much that I wanted to get the same colors, and so I knew I would love the colors. When I was knitting it, I was really kind of worried about the fit because, anyway, okay, before we go into that, let me first give you all the details. So the yarn I used for this is, so there's 3 different yarn. It is the Farmer Daughter Fibers Spinster's Daughter in the colorway York, which is the main color, which is this dark green that you can see on kind of all the cuff and the neckline and the hem. And then Spincycle yarn dyed in the wool in the colorway Every Rose, which is the color changing yarn that you'll be able to see once I stand up. And then there's Suri in here as well, which is the Farmer Daughter Fibers Oh Dang in the colorway Clay. And yeah, whoever came up with this color combination is just a genius, because I would have never thought that these colors would work together, but it is so pretty. I made size 1 and I used US 2 size needles for the ribbing and US 4 for the rest of the body. And finished measurements, so I got 34 inches in circumference, which I think might have been a little bigger than the pattern, maybe just by 1 inch. Only, I think, because I did purposefully, when I blocked it, I did kind of stretch it out widthwise because I wanted slightly more positive ease. And so that gives me about 4 inches of positive ease as I'm wearing it. And I am so happy with how this sweater blocked out. It really relaxed the stitches, and I don't want to make it seem like it grew a lot, but it definitely, before blocking, when I put it on me, it was quite fitted, and that made me really nervous because I want positive ease in my sweaters. I don't like anything to be really tightly close on me. And I pretty much knit to pattern with the lengths, I believe, but I do know that I knit the sleeves slightly longer, I think. I don't think the pattern said, like it had basically said to do the decreases and then that's it, I think. And so I don't think that the pattern said, you know, after you do the decreases, just continue until it's the length. It just said do the decreases until you reach the length or something, but it told you how many decreases to do. But anyway, I knit the decreases to like in, I think it said like every 1.5 inches or something to do the decreases. And so I did that, but then I did knit more without decreases, just slightly, maybe like this much more. And but other than that, I believe that I pretty much knit this to pattern. And the other thing sizing wise that I was slightly worried about before blocking was how cropped this was going to be, because I knew it was going to be a little cropped, or is meant to be slightly cropped, I think. And for me, cropped can sometimes work and sometimes not, depending on like how cropped it is. And so, oh, and this is also knit bottom up, and so that also made it a little hard to tell exactly where to stop knitting the body and to like split for the sleeves. But seriously, I don't know how, but it all worked out after blocking. I love the length. I love the length of the sleeves, the length of the body, the circumference, the width of the sweater, and it just fits so nicely. I really like how it looks, and yeah, okay, I will keep talking about it while I stand up and show you how it fits. So let me stand up now and try and stand back a little more here. I am not wearing pants that necessarily match this, so apologies for that, but here it is. I would say my belly button is like right here. So it's, you know, it's not full length, but I do normally wear pants that are higher waisted, so that's, I think it's actually a really good length for me. Let me go back a little more so you can see. Oh yeah, there it is. Ooh, yeah, it's so good. I believe that I measured from here, from the underarm down to the hem, I got 11 inches, and I believe the pattern said to knit 10 inches, but that after blocking, it will lengthen out by 1 more inch, and so that seems to be right on, like, because I did knit to 10 inches, and now it's 11. So that worked out really well. It is a drop shoulder. I think that that's what it's called, but as you can see, when you split, after working on the body, you do actually add increases for the armhole, and so it's not just like straight, like wherever the sleeve starts, it's not just like straight down for the body, it's actually like added stitches here, if you can see that on both sides. But I really like the look of that. The top of the shoulder is I believe it's a like 3-needle bind off, but in like, so that the ridge shows in the main color, and I think that's a really cute detail. I am just obsessed with the color combination on this. I think it's really good, and I like love the fit. It's so comfortable. I thought maybe that because I was using 3 different yarn at the same time to make the stitch pattern that it might be kind of bulky, but it's actually not. So that was really nice. The little bit of Suri in it, also like you can actually feel it. Like it's very comfortable and cozy. I also really like the shape of this neckline. I don't really like sweaters where the neckline is like really close up here, and so I actually really like that it's pretty wide, and that like it's not, I feel like anything that touches above like over here, depending again on like the yarn and stuff like that, like it starts to get a little itchy for me. But this, I love the neckline on this, and it's 2x2 rib. I just, yeah, overall very, very happy with the end result of this sweater, and it's so comfortable to wear. I've been wearing it a lot recently, and yeah, it's one of those things that after blocking I love it even more. So very happy with that. I think I mentioned in the last video that The only thing about the sweater, like I love it, I love the stitch pattern, I love how the stitch pattern looks, but it was kind of annoying to knit because the yarn management of 3 yarn at the same time, it's just a little finicky for me. Towards the end, like at the end of my second sleeve, I think I finally got it. And this is only for working in the round. For some reason, working flat, so when I worked the top, front, and the back flat, yarn management was fine. It was really easy to not get them tangled, but in the round, I was having problems. But towards the end, I figured it out. It's still kind of finicky, but it was fine. So that was the only thing, was that it was a little hard to knit, but only because the yarn management. So I don't know if I would knit this again, but I say that with like, so Andrea Mowry kind of just released, I think it was for this weekend, a sock pattern that is this stitch pattern. And I was like, oh, it looks so cute as a sock. So I may knit the sock, even though I don't like to knit the stitch pattern because it actually looks very cute. So I may knit the sock. I don't know if I would knit the sweater again, only because it's a lot of knitting. But I really like it, and I'm very happy with it. So that's all good, and it's so comfortable. So very happy about that. That was a long talk about what I am wearing, but I wanted to share that information with you now since I'm actually wearing it and can talk about it as I am wearing it. Okay, so I think that is all I have to say about the Tessellated pullover. Let's move on to my 3 finished objects for this week. Some of them are small, so it's not too bad, or it seems like a lot, but there were things that I just needed to finish up pretty much. So let's first talk about this one. This is my last test knit on my needles, so now I am done knitting all of my test knits right now, and I am not in more test knits. I still have to give feedback for 2 test knits, but the knitting for them is now done. So let me hold this up. This is the Ashling sweater. Here it is. It smells so good because I just blocked it like 2 days ago. Oh, it smells so good. Okay, the Ashling sweater by Maddy Mo. And the yarn I used is Woolberry Fiberco Berry Suri in the colorway Hello Autumn. And it is a single strand of Suri to knit this, and so it is a super light and drapey sweater. And I knit size 2, and I used US 2.5 size needles for the ribbing, and then US 3 needles for the body. And I did have to size down a little bit because when I knit with Suri, for some reason, a lot of the times my gauge is just like bigger than normal, and so I usually have to size down for Suri. But yeah, it is so soft. It is so comfortable. It is surprisingly warm. I thought that maybe because it is 1 strand of Suri that it would feel maybe not as warm, but when I've worn it for a little bit to try it on after blocking, like, it's pretty warm. Like, not like uncomfortably warm, but like surprisingly, like, oh, with 1 strand of Suri you can get like a really nice warm sweater. So yeah, there's a couple details I want to show all the time whenever I show this because I really, really like it. It's this at the hem. It is a split hem, and it's longer in the back and shorter in the front, and it has this overlapping section. There's something about, like, I love a split hem, and there's something about this overlapping portion about it that I really like. And I just think it looks really cute. I will wear this in next week's video to try and catch up on wearing all of my finished objects, but here it is. I knit this 2 pattern. I don't think I made any modifications. There were some things that I did like find some errors in the pattern, so I did have to like ask Maddy about it, but they were some, kind of forget what they were just because it was kind of a while ago, but they were all addressed, and so that's all good, but I don't think I made any modifications. I knit the body to the length. This is knit bottom up, and so yeah, it's knit bottom up. And I knit it to size, and so it is a really, I'll just hold this up to my body. This is a longer sweater than the one I'm currently wearing, as you can kind of, can you see that here? Yeah, it is longer. So it is, I would say, a more like full length sweater, but it's, oh my gosh, it is so soft and cozy. I really like the neck band. It is a folded, it is a 2x2 rib folded neckband, and it's like extra fluffy because it's, you know, like a double fabric. Oh, I know, I did sew down this neckline. Like I knit it and then I bound off loosely and then I sewed it down versus like doing the bind off end and folding it over. Don't know if that makes sense. Like you could fold, like while you're knitting the neckband and you're done, you can fold it over and then bind off while you are also trying to like connect it to the inside so that it stays folded over. That sounded like a maybe not great explanation, but I sewed it on loosely instead because usually anytime there's a folded neck band, I always sew it down because when I try to do the pick up stitches and knit it together and bind off at the same time, it ends up being really tight. So I just default to sewing it down. But that's maybe just me because if I do it the other way, it just ends up being too tight. I really think that the shaping on this is really nice. So the shoulders are sloped. They're short rows for the shoulders, so it has a really nice slope. And then there's like there was armhole shaping and also sleeve short rows to make kind of like a sleeve cap, I think is how you could describe it. And I just, yeah, really like this sweater. I knew I was going to like it, and I really like it in this colorway. It's very fall vibes, and so I'm excited to now be able to wear it. So yeah, really enjoyed it. I will say, I was like, I really like how this sweater looks, and I do, so I will wear it and talk more about like the fit and stuff next week while it's on my body so I can kind of like show it better. But yeah, I really like how it fits, and I was like, would I make this again? I really want to make this again because I was almost kind of surprised with like how it looked shaping wise, like all of the details. Because I was like, oh, I kind of was like, it's a sweater. Like what more could it really do? But I think those details of just like the shaping of the neckline, the sloping shoulder, the shaping of the armhole and the sleeve, and just like that split hem at the bottom, like it looks really cute on. And I was like, I really want another one, but knitting with one strand of Suri is like, it's a lot of knitting. But I think it's doable. I think it would be it's very similar to knitting a fingering weight sweater, but it's just, I think all my other Suri sweaters, I usually either hold Suri double or hold Suri with a fingering weight, and so it's more like knitting DK weight. So those feel like it goes by a lot faster versus this one, but the end product of this is so good. So good. And I think I didn't weigh my yarn yet for this, but I only used 3 skeins for my size. I had 4 just in case, but yeah, I might have only used like 2.5. Like I didn't use up the full 3rd skein. So you can get a really nice Suri sweater for less yarn than if you were to hold it double and make a sweater. And I only say that because for my Cumulus blouse that I've knit with 2 strands of Suri, it takes like all of 4 skeins and maybe a little bit of a 5th skein, but definitely like all of 4 skeins. And this only took like 2.5 or so, less than 3. And so it's a good alternative if you don't have enough Suri skeins to make hold it double to make a sweater. So it could be possible. So there's something to keep in mind. The drape on this is so good. I really am excited to wear this and take pictures. I haven't taken finished object pictures of this yet, so excited to do that soon. But yeah, so this is, again, test knit of the Ashling sweater. It is done, but I still need to take notes or give notes back to Maddy. I don't know if there was a form yet for it, but I do think the deadline got extended a little bit, so there still might be a little more time before the pattern actually comes out, but I think it is one that if you like Suri sweaters, I think it's one that you should definitely take a look at when it comes out. Okay, so that is finished object number 1 for the week. Okay, number 2, I was really feeling like getting things done off of my needles because I wanted to cast on something else this week, and I was like, I have so many whips that I really should cast off. Some stuff that are close to being done, and I just need to get it done. So one of those things was my Manhattan Hat Lite. So this is a pretty special project because this was my first cast on with my handspun yarn, and this was, I think, like the handspun yarn I used for this was like the second thing that I spun. The fiber I got for this was from Flock Fiber Festival earlier this year, and it's just like, it feels really special. It definitely, while I was knitting with the yarn, I was like, you can definitely tell that I got better at spinning throughout like the yarn because it got more even. In the beginning there were a lot more like big chunks of fluff in the yarn. So but anyway, so it was really fun to work on this, and I'm really happy it came out I think really nicely. So again, this is a Manhattan Hat Lite by Tori Yu, and if you've seen some of my previous videos, you might know that I love the Manhattan hat patterns, all of them. I have all of the sides or the versions, so the Manhattan Hat original, the light, which is this one, and then also bulky, and I love this beanie. I think it looks really cute on me. I don't think a lot of beanies look good on my head for some reason, but I think this one looks, I don't know, there's something about it that I just really like how it looks on my head. And I think it's just cute also. So yeah, so I just love this pattern. This is the first time I've knit with the light version of the Manhattan Hat pattern, and I really enjoyed it. So it is just a 1x1 rib hat, but it has this cute decrease at the top. And I was going to do a double fold for this. All of my other hats are single fold because I ran out of yarn, or like the yarn I wanted to use, there was not enough to do a double fold, but there was enough to do a single fold. And so for this one, I had enough yarn of my hand spun to do a double fold, but as you can see, that there are stripes. Like, that's just how it worked out with the hand spun yarn, and I wanted the pink to be shown at the top, and I think if I did a double fold, that pink would be hidden if I did that. And so I decided to just stick with the single fold. So because I just really wanted this hat to be done, and it is hat season, I think, or at least I am making it hat season, beanie season, because it's really funny. I never cared to wear beanies when it was cold. Like, I just didn't care for it. It was not like my favorite thing. I didn't really like beanies, but after I started knitting and I knit my first beanie, I love every opportunity. I take every opportunity to wear a beanie when I can. So as soon as it gets a little cold, I'm like, beanie. Let me, I can try this on so you can see it on my head. It does not, does not match my current sweater. There's too much going on, but this is what it looks like. Yeah, okay. Want to talk about the yarn, my handspun really quick. I keep saying it's my handspun, but more details. So it is my handspun. The fiber is BFL, and I actually was like, I didn't know what to knit with it in the beginning because I was like, the BFL I thought felt a little scratchy. Like, it wasn't like super soft, and so I was like, I don't know if I'd want to make it into a hat. Like, it might not be comfortable, but I was like, I just want to knit something with it. Even if I knit a hat and I don't end up wearing it, like, it would just be cute to like display it somewhere and be like, that's my handspun and I knit something with it. So I decided to knit this hat, but I tried it on like in the middle and I was like, it actually feels fine. It doesn't feel that scratchy. Like, I don't know why I thought BFL would be scratchy, but it's pretty soft. I don't know. I was kind of surprised by how nice it feels, and I definitely will wear this as a hat. So anyway, so it's BFL, and the colorway is Whole Latte Love, and it's from Art and Alchemy Fiber Arts. And again, I bought it, this fiber braid from Flock Fiber Festival, and so it's pretty crazy that since then I've bought my braid, and I didn't know how to spin back then, or like at the beginning of Flock Fiber Festival. Learned there from my friend Bridget, and now I have a beanie from fiber I bought from there that I spun and I've finished knitting with. So yeah, it's pretty crazy. So this is really cool. This is my first hand spun hat and I really like it. I knit the adult small size and I used US 2 needles to make this, and I don't remember if that was the recommended needle size, but it is what I used. So I also don't know, like, I think that the yarn I ended up making might have been like around a sport weight, which is what the Manhattan Hat Lite pattern calls for, and so it kind of worked out. The brim, as you can see, like here, it kind of flares out, if you can see, and that's just because that's where I cast on, and that's where my yarn was the most, like, have the chunky bits, as I think you can see, like here. So that's why it kind of looks a little funky, but I was like, when I tried it on my head, it does stretch a little bit, and so it ends up not looking like super floppy. And so I think it all kind of worked out, and it's my first hand spun hat, and I'm really happy with it. Pink and purple are one of my favorite colors, and so it all kind of worked out really well, I think. So yeah, I'm very proud of this, and I'm happy that it's now off the needles as well. Okay, and then on to my third and last finished object for the week, which was also a new cast on this week, so you haven't seen anything about this, but I've talked about it. Okay, it is a small project. I cast on and knit the Sophie Scarf by PetiteKnit, and this was actually another hand spun knit project. So let me show it to you. Actually, I should probably like wear it too, but this is the mini scarf. I made the small size, and actually I had to, it's even smaller than the small size in the pattern because I ran out of yarn. So here it is. Actually, I will try to put it on. I just blocked this like yesterday, and so I haven't tried it yet to see how the length is. I think it did grow a little bit. Oh, I think it's pretty cute. Okay, so I feel like that this is probably how I would wear it. Yeah, so Sophie Scarf. I knit this with my Handspun of the Volute fiber. I do not know how to say that, but it is fiber from Latte and Aimee, and it is the 50% cashmere, 50% merino base, the fiber that she sells, and it came in like about a 50-gram braid, and I only got one, and it is so soft. It is amazing. I mean, it's 50% cashmere, so like it definitely would feel amazing, but it was crazy. When I spun it, it was a little hard to spin because it was so soft and slippery is how I would describe it. Like, it kind of felt like it kept slipping out of my hands while spinning it. But I really, really, really wanted to try to get like a rounded DK weight or a sport of the fiber, because I was like, it's so soft and it's such a small amount of fiber that I think a scarf would be a good thing to make from it, because it is just like, it's so soft that I wouldn't want to mix it with, like, use it with something else to make something bigger. I want it to be like on my neck. I want to make all of the use of like it being cashmere and for it to just be like hugging my neck. And so I was like, a scarf would be a good idea. And I really needed something to be a simple stitch pattern to try to use get as much out of the yarn to make something, because it was a very small amount. I think I got maybe 90 something yards of yarn after I spun it, and I was like, I really needed something small, but I wanted it to be a scarf. So anyway, Sophie Scarf was on my mind. I was never planning on making this pattern because, to be honest, I was like, don't get what the big deal is about this pattern, because I was like, it's just like a garter stitch, like tapered triangle-ish scarf. But I've seen people make it and wear it, and I was like, yeah, it is pretty cute, I will say that. And anyway, I was like, I waited a while, and I was like, I just can't think of another pattern to make with this yarn. And I really want to make something with it soon, because again, the weather started getting cold, and I was like, I want to wear this for as long as I can because it's so soft. So anyway, I made it. I did have to, so let me take it off to show you. So if you've never seen this pattern or how it's shaped, it is like a triangle. So like at the top here, it is flat, but there are increases like on this side, and there's a point in halfway and it goes back down. And I had to take out, I did not do all of the increases for the smallest size, because I was weighing my yarn to make sure that once I got halfway through my yarn that I would be able to make it to the end. And so once I got halfway, I think I did not do like 2 more of the increases. So this is smaller than the small size, I think, but it looks okay wrapped around my neck, right? Like, it didn't look like it was really short. Like, yeah, it's pretty fine. Lengthwise, it's like, it's fine. Lengthwise, it's fine. It might be because my yarn maybe was slightly more than a DK weight, like size-wise, but it fits really well. Guys, it is so soft. I'm really happy with my choice to make this into a small scarf. Let me hold it up. Sorry, I'm like talking really long about my finished objects this week, but I'm just like really happy with them. If I hold it here long enough, it'll focus. If you can tell, like, the yarn or the fiber, the colorway I got for this one was like a gray-y pink color. Like, I think, and the pink is kind of like a peachy color, but there's definitely like gray in there, but it has so much depth in the color, and I think that that's really pretty. And I'm honestly kind of surprised at how even it knitted up, and it's just so crazy that I spun this yarn. And it made a little scarf. And it's so soft. Also, I think you can tell, like, the drape on this is really nice. So I will say this fiber was quite pricey, and it was, again, only 50 grams. But I'm very happy with it, and pretty much like none of it went to waste. I spun it and it turned into a thing that I can wear really comfortably. And yeah, oh, I know for sure. I haven't taken finished object pictures of this yet, but everyone who posts this, like, rolls it into a thing that looks like a croissant. So I will just do that now. I kind of get it now. I kind of get it, you know. So I will probably be making more Sophie scarves. I know, but honestly, it's something that I'm going to wear, and I think it's a really good way to, like, if you have leftover yarn, or if you have like one special skein of yarn, like, you can make this. And yeah, like, it would be a good way to use up either one skein or some leftover yarn to make a Sophie scarf. So yeah, so that is my last finished object for this week. I'm very happy with all of them. Yeah, and I'm so excited that I have 2 finished objects with Handspun. I think from when I spun the yarn to when I knitted with them was a pretty short amount of time, and it's exciting to me. Like, I get to knit with it pretty soon after I spin it, and so that it's not just sitting in my stash for too long, although that would also be totally fine. Like, you don't have to always like spin to knit with it right away, and you also don't need to spin to knit with. You can just spin to have fun with spinning and to see the colors. But for me, I'm just really happy to have knitted things with my spun yarn, and so quickly that I can like enjoy it so soon after I spin it. Especially this one, because it's just so soft. But okay, enough about that. Let's move on to my works in progress for the week. I tried to touch on a lot of things this week because I was feeling like really good about finishing projects, and I just kind of was like brought back some older projects to work on. Maybe honestly just like one, but we will talk about it. So first up, let's talk about this project. This is just another progress update. I feel like whenever I have like shawls or something, like big projects, I just like to show them somewhat quickly on here just so that we see a progress update. This is my Mackenzie shawl. Although, like, shawl, scarf, it is a very long rectangle, but this is it. It is getting quite long now, as we'll see here as I scroll it up and down on the screen. Let me do that again. Okay, so as you can see, this is just my stitch marker here for how much I worked on this past week, which I think it was a decent amount just to get some progress done. There will be, details first. Mackenzie shawl by Sari Nordlund. The yarn I'm using, it is a 2-color brioche, so one side and the other side. The yarn I'm using is Olivia and Oliver fibers in the classic sock base in Woodland, which is this brown variegated color, and then Feather, which is this white speckly color. And I am using US 4 needles to knit with this, and it's coming along really nicely. It's a really relaxing knit for me because it is brioche, and then it has, you know, these like diagonal garter stripes, and it's kind of cool because I know that, so even though this is going to just be a really long panel, it doesn't feel like like how long is this going to take me? And I think that's because of the garter stripe kind of keeping me, like, I can see the progress, or I know how much more I have left to go. So for example, like there will be 4 of these stripes on this shawl. And so with the second one, as it gets closer to this edge, I'm like, once I finish the second one, I will be halfway done. So it's kind of like a progress meter, is like, you know, how far along I am on the stripe. And so I think that that's what's keeping it pretty interesting to knit on, even though it really is just basically brioche knitting for like a very, very, very long time. But yeah, so I'm almost halfway there, and it's working out well because it should take, the pattern says like pretty much like fingering weight, 2 skeins of each color, and that's what I have. And so I'm still on the first skeins of each colorway, and I'm almost halfway, and they are now smaller, and so they should reach me until, I hope that it will reach me until a little past halfway, so that I feel safe that I won't be like this close and run out of yarn at the end. But I think we should be good. I was a little worried that I was going to not make it halfway, but I think we will make it halfway with this. So I'm feeling good about it. And yeah, it's just, honestly, just a really meditative knit to work on. So that's the progress on this one. It's going to be so squishy to wear as a scarf or as a shawl, or however you wear it. It's going to be really squishy because of the brioche. Okay, next up is the Slightly Sassy V by Aimee Sure. Ooh, sorry. Okay, I didn't think I worked on that many projects this week, but when I brought out all my projects to talk about it, there's kind of a lot. So they're all kind of just piled on top of each other. But I wanted to show this. I worked on it a little bit. Won't really, if I didn't have my stitch markers that I put on so that I know how much I worked in the week, if I didn't have that, I would be like, did I work on it this week? But here it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure it looks exactly the same. I'm still on the body, but I worked like this much of the body. Sorry, you can see it here. Using my flock stitch marker from Hello Lavender. Yeah, I just worked a few rounds just to get this kind of like going again and like on my radar of things to knit on. Yes, I am using Moondrake Fua Fua in the colorway Rose Quartz, and it's just so cute. And this is another, I forget how much cashmere, I think it's brush cashmere is what the base is. I think there's more in it, but it's expensive, this yarn base. But it's another one I got from Flock, and I am knitting this with some friends. And yeah, I don't think we've caught up on it yet, or like we have a group chat. I don't think we've recently talked about everyone's progress on this, but I think we're all still working on it. I am still on my first skein of this, and so I'm kind of, it would be like a nice, like, I don't want to say stopping point, but it would be nice to be like, okay, I finished one skein of this yarn. And that's kind of like, you know, like just like a checkpoint on the sweater. Because I think, as I normally do for sweaters, I will probably stop working on the body once I finish up the skein, and then I will move on to doing the sleeves. So that's probably what I will do once I finish up my first skein. again, it's so soft and fluffy and light, and it's going to be really, really comfortable to wear, I think, and I am looking forward to the finished object of this. But yeah, this one's still got more time to work on to get it done. So yeah, just reminding myself that this is a project that I should work on. Okay, next up is the Cinnabar shawl by Andrea Mowry. I've been knitting so many Andrea Mowry patterns this year. I think it was this year that was the first time I knit an Andrea Mowry pattern, or was it end of last year? Anyway, it was recent that I finally, when I say recent, maybe nothing earlier than last year, but I've just been knitting a whole bunch of her patterns. So also partly because she has a lot of good patterns to use for handspun or use with your handspun, and now that I spin, I am just like looking at her patterns in a whole different way. So yeah, but okay, let me get situated here to show you my progress. I've spent a lot of time on this yesterday. I had yesterday off from work, and so as one does, spends most of the day knitting on a holiday. So it is now scrunched on my needles, and so it might be a little difficult to show it. But here it is. Yeah, it is definitely, I mean, it's scrunched on my needles. I don't know if I have a longer cord available to start moving it onto, because it still needs to grow like 100 more stitches or something. So it's going to get really crowded on this cable here. But this is my little marker for how much I worked in this past week. Each row is now going to get longer. Like each repeat, we increase stitches. So the progress on how many rows I work is going to get smaller, just because there will be a lot more stitches to work through. But I can like just show you kind of, now that more of it is worked, you can see kind of more of the yarn and the colors and how that's turning out. Oh, the yarn I'm using for this, so my main color, which is this white, gray white color, is dreareneeknits Ulysse in the color Poivre Blanc. I definitely said that wrong, but it is written in the description down below, so you can actually like look it up if you are interested. But this is what it looks like. I love, the more that I work with this, the more I love this yarn, like this base. It is so fluffy, or like airy and light and bouncy, and I think it is like semi-woolen spun, and it's just so, it's not rustic, like itchy, but it's like, it's still soft. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but I really am liking this yarn. So this is the Ulysse base, and it's a sport weight, I believe, and I have used the dreareneeknits Gilead, which I think is the same like yarn composition, but in a worsted weight, and I also love that. So I've been really liking this yarn, and you'll see I'm actually using it in another project this week. So yeah, really liking it. But anyway, so that is my main color, and then the contrast color is my handspun. So this is another handspun project, which is the pinky purple gray color changing yarn. Yeah, which way is it best so that you can see the colors? And so again, this is a shawl, and it's hard for me to like show it all, because again, my cable needle or the size is just too small for how many stitches I have right now, but there's like two parts to it. So one side is garter stitch and the other side is a 2-color brioche with like a really fun like switching of color stripe thing. So let me switch it onto this side. So now, you know, the main color is the opposite from the other side, and I think that that's really fun and keeps it really interesting to knit on. I've been knitting a lot of brioche, and I find brioche knitting really relaxing, and so it's just been a good time knitting this, and because this is my Handspun, it just feels, again, like extra special. Oh, I do want to mention again, like, okay, so this is I'm still on my first skein of my Handspun, but now it's in a smaller ball. The Handspun is a Corriedale, it was a Corriedale fiber from Bella Filato Studios, and the colorway is Sand Dunes. And I bought this from La Mercerie. I got 2 braids of it, and each one I've spun it, and so I have 2 of them for this shawl. It should be enough yarn for me to finish this shawl. And I think it's going to be really good. It is low contrast between main color and contrast color, I would say, but I do very much enjoy like how it is knitting up. We just got a lot of stitches on the needles and more. Like, I think, oh boy, yeah, whenever there's an increase, there's a lot of stitches to increase. But okay, so I do want to mention, because I was like, every time I talk about this, I'm like, I wanted to mention this and I kept forgetting. So the increases, if you may notice, the garter stitch section is smaller than the brioche section, and that's because the way that the increases are, you're only increasing like on each side of like the sections. For the garter stitch section, it's just 1 on each side, and for the brioche, it's 2 on each side. And so this side definitely grows bigger than the garter stitch side, and so I just wanted to like mention that because I keep forgetting to mention that. Yeah, this side will be smaller than the brioche side. But yeah, okay, we are good now because I've mentioned it. And yeah, it's just been really fun to work on. And the only time I really have to look at the instructions is when we switch the colors to do this stripe. Just because I want to make sure I get it right. But after that, I pretty much have the pattern down so that I don't have to look at it while I'm knitting on this. And so far I've been okay with remembering when to do the increases and how to do it. But as the rows get longer, I might end up forgetting just because it takes me so long to get from one end to the other. But so far so good. I've been really enjoying working on it. And this is another project I am knitting with more friends. So yeah, it's just, I feel like this year has been like knitting projects with friends and like either knitting the same things or like with the same yarn, and it makes it extra special and feel really fun to work on, because when I work on it I think about my friends, and so it's been really fun and really nice. So yeah, this is my Cinnabar and is now my 3rd project with my Handspun, and so that's also really fun. Oh, I am knitting this with US 6 needles, and this pattern, it's only one size since it's a shawl, and so I did not gauge swatch, so I don't know how close I am to gauge. Maybe I should, I mean, maybe I should have, but I think I should have enough yarn to finish it. So okay, so that is that one. Next up, oh, I want to talk about this. Okay, so Okay, as far as end of year plans, there's now that my test knits are all finished knitting, like I'm finished knitting on my test knits. The only other sweater I have that I am like, I really want to finish this before the end of this year is my Fika Pullover by Sari Nordlund, because I wanted to make it because of the sweater that Selena Gomez wears in the Only Murders in the Building Season 3 finale. It is this red all-over cabled sweater. And I bought yarn for it kind of like right away after I saw that and was like, yes, I want to make this sweater. And then it took me a long time to kind of work on it. And then I frogged what I had because I really didn't get that far. I think I only got the neckband done. I got like I got re-energized to work on it, and then I like really started working on it because it's a red sweater and I don't really wear red sweaters. I don't see myself going out on a daily basis wearing a red sweater. I think it's a good holiday sweater to wear, and so I want to be able to wear it during the holidays this year. So I've been trying to make some good progress on this sweater, and from the last time I was really close to splitting for sleeves, and so I finally split for sleeves and I finished one sleeve, and I am working on the second one right now. So here it is. It looks so bright in the camera just because of the red color, but yeah, I did try it on. Oh, sorry, real quick. So the yarn I am using is Knitting for Olive Heavy Merino in the colorway Pomegranate. I think it's a really good, like, orangey red, but not too orange and not super bright. Like, I think it's like the perfect orangey red that's not too bright, I think, in my opinion. Like, I really like this color actually. And I am knitting size 1, and I'm using US 6 needles for this. And it's been good. I have things to say about this. Okay, so the last time I talked about this, I was like about ready to split for sleeves, but the pattern says to, after doing all the increases for the yoke, it says to measure from not the neck ribbing, but when the cable chart starts till, wherever you are, which I think would be the yoke depth. And for my size, I believe it said 9 inches, and that was going to be really big for me. I thought I put it on with what I had, and I think I was around 7 inches, and it seemed like it was going to be fine. Maybe it was like 7¼ inch, but I did not want I didn't want the underarm to be really low. Like, I didn't want any kind of like wing kind of going on with the yoke, and so I split for sleeves when it hit about 7 inches for me, because I also felt like with the weight of this sweater, once it's done, it might kind of pull things down and kind of help with that if it ended up being too tight under my arm. But I've tried it on. After I finished my first sleeve, I did try it on like this, and it fits fine. It feels fine. And so even if it does drape a little more because of like the weight of the sweater, that would actually be great, but it does fit fine. And so I split for sleeves a lot sooner than the pattern says to as far as the length. So I just wanted to note that. I think it's definitely something you should, if you are making this, that you should probably try it on to see how it fits on you before you split for sleeves. But yeah, so now I am working on the second sleeve, and I'm going to finish this second sleeve before I move back to working the body. The other thing that happened while I was knitting on this was it's all cables, all over cables. The entire sweater is cables except for the cuff, the hem, and the neckband. And it's been a while since I've used any kind of like extra cable needle to do cables. It's been, I think years, or maybe like 1 year, I don't know, that when I learned how to knit cables without a cable needle, that's how I knit my cables. So that's how I've been doing these cables. And if you've noticed, at the top, so it is worked top down, it's a circular yoke. At the top, the cables are really small, and then as you increase, the cables get bigger, which means more stitches to have to like overlap. And they are now, like the main size cables are now they're 10 stitches. So when you do the cable, it's like 5 and 5. And it was really starting to hurt my hands. It was really tight because it is like 5 stitches and it's worsted weight yarn, and so it's really like thick and just like a lot of fabric to be like overlapping and trying to get those stitches to overlap with each other. And they were kind of starting to hurt my hand, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a pain to do for the rest of the body and also for the sleeves. But I was like, maybe it would be easier with an extra needle. And now I don't have an actual cable needle, like the one that like is like small and it kind of has like a indent, like it's shaped like that. I don't have one, but I used a circular needle just because it has 2 ends. You would ideally want something with 2 ends. Sometimes in the past I've just used like a detached interchangeable needle, and I slipped it on like backwards so that it was ready to knit with. But this time I used a circular needle, like a shorter one to use, just because there's, 2 slip on one end and you can knit off of it on the other end. And I also have some double pointed needles, which I got early on when I started knitting and I wanted to try them. And then I never knit with double pointed needles. I do not like them, but I still have them because I bought them. So I've been using a double pointed needle as my cable needle to do these big cables, and it is a lot easier on the hands to do it this way. So this is something I've learned. I think that if the cables are, even if it's like 6 stitches, so like 3 and 3, it feels doable to do with the no cable needle way, where you slip it off and then you slip it back on. But once you hit like 4 or 5 or like 8 or 10 total for this cable, it starts getting really hard to do it that way. So anyway, now I am doing my cables with my double pointed needle as my cable needle, and it's making it a lot easier on the hands to work the cables, and so now I don't feel that stressed working on it, which is great. But yeah, I finished one sleeve. Again, I'm working on the second. I'm hoping to finish the second sleeve by next week so that all I have left to do is the body, and that should give me a lot of time until December. I really just want this to be done before the end of December, so I've got a good amount of time to work on this, but it would be nice to finish it as soon as possible. Also because it kind of knits up fast because it is worsted weight, but the cable rows do take a very long time to get through, so but it does work up pretty fast. So I am excited to have this done. I still don't know what I'm going to do about the neckband. So it is a funnel neck, but I don't know if I like it. So in the end, when I'm done and I finish blocking it, I may double it like this, like have a folded neckband, but we'll see. I'll just wait until the very end to decide on that. But yeah, so that is progress on the Fika pullover. Okay, next up, the Traveler Shell. Here, I've made some progress on this. So the Traveler Shell is a pattern by Andrea Mowry, and she's doing a knit along with La Mercerie for this pattern, and I wanted to join in on it, and so I just found some yarn in my stash that I thought would work, and I cast on. So this is another project that's very squished on my needles just because I don't really have long. I have so many projects that all of my needles and my cables are being taken up by other projects, but it's working for us for now. It's a bottom up cardigan, but it's like short sleeve. And it has like, it's not, it's like it's like pearl row stripes. I don't know how you say it. It's striped, but it's with the stitch pattern. It's not like color stripes. And it's just been a fun knit because right now, again, it's bottom up. So right now we're just working on the body. So just knitting in the stitch pattern, no increases, no decreases. And I love the yarn that I am knitting this with. So I am using a Paisley Knits yarn in the Sailing Sport Base, which is 100% baby alpaca. So it's very soft and very drapey. And the colorway I am using is Golden Pavilion from the Japan collection. So it is just a really soft green, yellow, and blue colors. And I think it looks really cute in this pattern. Honestly, I just really like knitting with this yarn base. It's just really, I don't know why, it's just really nice to work with. Like, it is very soft and drapey. It doesn't slip off the needles. I don't know. There's just something about it that I just really like knitting with it. And so that's kind of been like why I knit on it. I mean, I want the finished object too. Like, I think it's really cute, but I do enjoy knitting on it, I think, right now, mostly because I like the yarn base. And I think it'll make a really good short sleeve cardigan, like drapey kind of thing. And so that's pretty exciting for me. And yeah, I am knitting size 2, and I am using US 4 needles for the body, and then for the ribbing US 2. So yeah, oh, I will show you from my stitch marker where I was last week. So I just got a little bit more of it done, but I feel really good about just getting a little work done on some of my bigger projects, especially early on in the projects when there's just like a lot more to get done on it. Just to like remind myself, like, yes, you have this project that you like and you're excited about, and just work on it a little bit to remind myself what it is, and then we're good. So that is the Traveler Shell. And then this is a project that I have 2 more projects to talk about, or knitting projects to talk about. This one I have not worked on in a bit, but I was like, let's pick it back up again. This is the Superlative Sweater. Did I say it? Superlative Sweater by Samantha Guerin. And I think for this project was in a bag, and I just kind of, I don't want to say forgot about it, but it just never came up in my mind to work on it when I was like, what should I work on? Also because I have so many new cast-ons, and so that's kind of just been the thing, but I really want a boucle sweater. I really want to wear a boucle sweater, so I was like, let's get back to working on this because I do like working with it, and I do like the boucle, so we're back on this. I finished my first skein. So I knit all of this with one skein. Sorry, I'm not showing it well. Okay, front, back. So I've knit all of this with one skein of the Explorer Knits Boucle DK in the colorway Oxide, which is just after, yeah, when I was knitting on this, I was like, ooh, I love this color. Like, it's such a good color. And so it's really nice to feel like reinvigorated about a project. I am knitting a size 2 because I want a nice kind of oversized boucle sweater. And I am using US 4 needles to knit this. And I remember that I did need to size down for this because my gauge was too big for the boucle, or with the boucle on the recommended needle size. I think boucle and Suri, for some reason for me, I do have to normally go down a needle size. Just maybe I just knit looser with a looser tension with boucle or Suri for some reason, but yeah. So we are looking good. I do have a stitch marker to show where I was. So, I mean, I didn't work, a crazy amount to finish up that first skein, but I made progress and I'm feeling good. I wound up my second skein for this, and I will probably start working on the sleeves since we're at a good stopping point on the body. So I will probably pick up the sleeves maybe this week is what I'm thinking, and we'll just like kind of work on that. So yeah, so this has been a good project. It feels good to pick it back up again, and it's another pattern I'm knitting with friends, and so they are definitely farther along on their sweaters than I am currently, and so hoping to catch up a little bit, but yeah, so we'll see. But I'm really excited to have the finished objects for this one as well. And then, okay, last knitted work in progress, but this is a new cast on. That's what I was trying to say. I have one new cast on for this week. I'm so excited about this one. I did spend a good amount of time working on this. This is the Pressed Flowers cardigan. It is a pattern by Aimee Christoffers, Savory Knitting on Instagram, and I have been wanting to make a pressed flowers shawl for a very, very, very long time, and I've just been waiting for the right yarn color combination to kind of pop out at me, and for me to be like, yes, I want that to be a pressed flowers shawl. And I thought, I actually did buy some DK yarn to make one, but then I didn't know how I felt about my color choice for it, and so it kind of just still in my stash. But then I started spinning, and I was like, it would be so cute to have to spin the contrast color for the pressed flowers something. I think at that point, so I only knew about the shawl, and then the cardigan was out. There's a sock pattern, there's a hat pattern, I think there's a cowl also, so like so many options. And I spun 2 braids of a color that I was thinking about making a different shawl for, and then, I didn't cast it on. I was kind of just waiting for the right time, but then there is a pressed flowers like knit along that's happening, and I think Young Folk Knits and someone else is hosting it, and I was like, it is the perfect time to knit a pressed flower something. And I was looking at what I could possibly do because I wanted to use Handspun for this, and I had these 2 skeins, and I was like, I think it would be cute. So for my contrast color for the cardigan, and because I think I got a sport weight with this spin, and so I was like, the cardigan uses a sport weight yarn, and so it would be good for the cardigan, because the shawl I think is DK weight. I have my little cake here of my Handspun. This is a super fine merino. Colorway is Paper Kites from Nest Fiber, and this was my first yarn that I spun with Nest Fiber, and I love how the colors came out on this. I will try and show it here, just how it looks in the cake. I think it's super fun and it just makes me really happy. So that is my contrast color. And then for the main color, I got some, as I've mentioned before, I really like the Durum Natura Ulyss yarn, which is a sport weight. And so I got some of this in the Foray color. I think that's forest in French, which is really nice dark green. And I thought that would go really well as a contrast with my Handspun. And I made a swatch for it. I posted a picture of it on my Instagram along with my like glamour shots of my Handspun for this, and I'm so happy with how it looked. And so I cast on immediately after the swatch, and I'm so excited to show this to you because I really like how it's turning out. Here it is. So the cardigan is knit bottom up, and so there's a lot of hem there. When I was knitting on the hem, I was like, come on, I just want to finish the hem so I can start working with the colors of the Handspun and like the actual flower stitch design. But yeah, this is how it looks. So I folded it in half there. This is like how much of it there is, but wow, I love working this stitch pattern. It is mosaic knitting, so it looks like color work, but you actually only ever work with one of the yarn at a time, and so you don't have to do any kind of like switching of colors in the middle of the row, but you do like slip stitches. And it's honestly, I find it really fun to work on. I was a little worried about mosaic knitting after, like, because the Tessellated pullover, the one I'm wearing, is also mosaic knitting, but the yarn management was just like not fun for me. But for this one, it's only 2 yarn you're working with, and so it's totally fine for me. Like, this is totally doable. I love how this is working up. I feel like each time I work through like a flower row, I'm just like, oh, another one, because each one, like the color changes. And so I feel like each flower row is going to look so different from each other. And so I'm always just like, oh, what's the next flower row color going to look like? And I think what's really interesting is, as you can tell, the color changes pretty quickly between each row, and I think that that is because the way that I spun this yarn was a fractal spin. And yeah, since this is like the first time I am knitting with a yarn that is a fractal spin, that the colors are very different from each other. So my Cinnabar, I also spun that as a fractal, but because the yarn colors are really close to each other, they all kind of blend really nicely, and I like the look of it, but it's hard to kind of really see what the color patterns are. And so for this one, I feel like I'll be able to see the color patterns more just because there's so many different colors. And so I think the color changes that are happening really fast is because of that, or maybe partly because of that. So I think that that's really fun. I will say there are some of them where the color change is not like gradual at all. So if you look at like this flower here, it was like mostly blue, and then it just went straight to like this orangey pink kind of color. And while it's not ideal, like a nice gradual color change would have been nice, I actually like it's fine. Like I really like it. And so I am very curious to see how this all looks. Again, because like each row of flowers I think will look very different from each other. And so just to see like how the pattern of the colors change and like move and rotate throughout each like row, I think would be, I'm just really interested to see how it all knits up, because I think it's still really hard to see just from like the cake. You can kind of see what the color changes will be, because each like circle you can kind of see like different colors, but knitted up just, you know, looks so different, I think, anyway. So yeah, it's just been, I keep wanting to knit another row of flowers because I want to see what the different colors are. So that is my pressed flowers cardigan. Yeah, it's going to be hard to put this one down to work on, just because it makes me so happy. I'm really happy with my choice in main color. I think for me it was like, oh, we get like a lot of different color flowers, and then a background of dark green for like the background of flowers, like the leaves of the flowers, like, you know, stems, the grass, like nature. I don't know. But I think it's working out really well, and I just really like it. I also think that, again, the Rerum Natura yarn is a bit more rustic, not itchy though. Like, it's still pretty comfortable, but it is kind of like, it's not super fine merino. But what I think is really cool is that if you look on the inside of this, like the cardigan, the pattern, there is a lot of the contrast color floats, I guess, or, you know, just, yeah, a lot of that in the back. And so it's actually feels a lot more like the super fine merino, which is very soft. I really like knitting with it. So wearing this will actually be, I think, even more comfortable, just because there is just a lot of my contrast color, which is the super fine merino. So that's pretty fun. And yeah, I've just been really liking working on this, and just honestly also just staring at it, because this stitch pattern is so fun to look at. And I can't believe, like, it's so cool how this pattern gets knit up, how the stitch pattern gets knit up. And so yeah, so that's been really fun, and this is a project that has kind of like taken hold of me this week. So yes, so that is the last knitting project that I have to share today. I do have one spinning project I want to share. There's no finished spinning things, but I did bring my bobbin here to share. And so right now it's really funny because I have a lot of, for knitting, I am like a multi-project type of person, but for spinning, at least for now, I like working on one project at a time. And right now that project is my sweater spin of the Labian Aimee confetti fiber. And so I split my fiber in, I'm going to do a 2-ply. So I split my fiber braid in half. I finished one half. This week I worked on the other half. And so I have this much more of the fiber to get done with. I think I could finish it either this weekend or this week and then ply it. And then this is like the last braid I have for my sweater spin. And then I'm pretty sure like real soon after I finish this spin, I will probably cast on for the sweater for this, because I'm just really excited about it. So I will wait to share about it until I actually cast on, just because I want to make sure that gauge and stuff will be okay. This is my first sweater spin, and that may have been a little ambitious considering I have not been spinning for that long. There is a lot more to spinning than I know. A lot of things I maybe should have done before starting my sweater spin, in terms of like prepping the fiber and checking, like, I don't know, like making sure it's consistent between skeins, because it is not that consistent, if I'm going to be honest. But we are just going to try it out. We're going to learn as we go, and I'm having fun doing it. And so yeah, so this is what I have right now, and that is all I have to say for my spinning for this week. Oh, well, I do want to say I have been spinning on my ladybug wheel, and it's just been really fun. Like, I really like spinning on my ladybug, and so it's been really nice to spin, like, my first sweater spin on my ladybug. Okay, this video is way longer than I thought it would be. I don't know why. I think when I think I don't have that much to say, I end up talking way more about my projects than I normally would, and then the video ends up being really long. But we're almost done. So I have some acquisitions to share about. So it's just a couple, but they're exciting. So first off, I want to talk about, I got in my Woolberry order from, what collection was it? Anyway, I'm doing that thing where she has, Woolberry is doing her rewind collection throughout the year this year, and so each month there is a, like, she's bringing back a colorway, and if you buy at least one skein of each of these rewind colors every month this year, there's a discount code. She'll give you a discount code for the last end of the year update, which I don't know if she's announced. I don't think she's announced it yet. But for October, it was the colorway October, and I actually did knit with this yarn before. I got it in, I think, the berry sock base or something, and I did make a beanie with it. It was surprisingly not the Manhattan hat, but it was a Tori Yu pattern. I think it was called the brownstone beanie, and I made that with this colorway. But because I want to buy at least one skein of each of the rewind colors, I decided to get a sweater quantity of Suri because I didn't get this colorway in Suri, and I thought it would be cute in Suri, and so I did get a sweater quantity. I'm only holding up 2, but that's what it looks like. And so I think it would be really cute. I have yet to knit with Woolberry's new Berry Suri base, and so it might be kind of confusing to keep track of because I do still have in my stash a lot of the old Berry Suri base, and she changed the base but didn't change the name of it. So the new Berry Suri base, and I don't want to say this like every time just in case it gets kind of annoying, but the new Berry Suri base, I don't know if the composition is different. It is 65% Suri alpaca, 35% silk. But there is definitely more yardage in this new Berry Suri base than the old one. So it has 437 yards for 50 grams. I think the old one had like 300 something. So it actually works out really well for it to have more yardage, because now I think you can really substitute it with mohair, or like substitute it for mohair in other patterns. And so I think that'll be really nice, but I haven't knit with this new base yet. So I want to do it soon just so that I know how I feel about it. But yeah, so now I have it on the October colorway. And then I hope this doesn't take too long to talk about because my voice is giving out again. I bought a knitting book, and let me just hold it up and then we'll talk about it. So I bought the Sari Nordlund knitting book, Softly Timeless Knits, and I mean, when she said she was making a book, I think she mentioned it like last year, I already knew I was going to get it because I love her patterns. And when she started talking about the patterns and showing the patterns, I knew I was going to love it, but I really loved it, and so I was just waiting to figure out how to get this book. And because I think if you bought it straight from her publisher, at least in the US, I think the shipping was just incredibly expensive. And so luckily, La Mercerie, which is a store on Bainbridge Island here in Seattle, they were stocking this book and they were doing pre-orders. And so I was going to buy it during that first pre-order, and they sold out. I was just too late to do it. I was like, oh, I'll just wait until like after work to go and buy it online. from La Mercerie, but then they sold out. But then she did say, I was like, oh, it's okay, I'll just wait, because I'm pretty sure they're going to restock it, because I was like pretty sure it's going to be a very popular book, and they did restock it. And so I finally got it during the second restock of the book, and it came in really fast. And so yeah, it is a gorgeous book. I think just like it is a hardcover. It is like really pretty. The pictures in it are just really, really pretty. It's just a nice book with nice pictures. Like, yeah, I have some. So I have not knit anything from it yet, but I do want to say, because I did do a quick look through the book, that I really like that the table of contents for the patterns have the pictures of the patterns and not just like the name of it, because that's just how I pick my patterns. It's just like I remember what it looks like, and then it's just way easier to browse the contents of this book by looking at the pictures of all the patterns kind of like all in one place. It does go onto a third page, but it's all there for you to see all the patterns at once. And of course it tells you the page number that it starts on. And then the other thing that's really nice, again, these are like small details, but I very much enjoy it, is that it came with a like bookmark ribbon attached to it. And I was like, this is really nice that is part of it, because I mean, it just like adds to it. It's like such a nice high quality book, I feel like, but it's so nice it comes with this, because yeah, I want to save like my spot if I'm working through a pattern in this book, or to save what pattern in the book I want to start next, so that it's right there. And so I did mark one. I want to make a lot of the sweaters in this book, but I don't think that it'll be ones that I cast on anytime soon. I think if I cast on anything first from this book, it might be the sock patterns, because I think they're very pretty, and also I already have lots of yarn choices in my stash to make these socks, so I won't have to buy yarn to start a project from this book. So I do not know how to say or pronounce most of the names of the patterns in this book, but I do not know the best way to show this. This is the socks that I want to make. Hopefully that shows up well in the camera. I think the cable pattern in this is really cute, and I am just, yeah, I think that that's the sock pattern I want to make first from this book. But pretty much all of the cardigan patterns in this book I want to make, and the sweaters as well. They're all just so pretty and very Sari Nordlund style, and yeah, so I'm very happy to have this book, and it's just really nice to look at, and it's just, yeah, very pretty. Okay, so that is all I have to talk about for this video, I think. I always have a very hard time ending these videos because I just want to keep talking about more things, but I think that's all the content I have for today. I hope that you are all having a great day on whichever day you're watching this, and I always love reading your comments. I know sometimes it takes me a long time, sometimes like an entire week, to respond, but I do read your comments. I do really try to respond to everyone, and even if I don't respond, I do also try to like it, just because sometimes it's just hard to respond to everyone, but I do very much enjoy reading your comments. Please let me know in the comments down below what project you have been working on while watching or listening to this video, because again, I love to know, I love to get new ideas for projects, and yeah, make sure you take a break from knitting sometimes too. Take this as a sign, stand up and do a stretch break, and maybe get some water too. Just make sure you stay hydrated. And I say that because my throat is feeling kind of dry right now from talking so much. But I hope you're all having a great day, and Hope you all have a great week, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!